What's up, guys? Casey and George back with GBR Live. We didn't get, I don't know, we did get rained on, but we didn't have to float away. Lots of people out there at the Junior Dragster well, I was saying Easton because I guess Easton dominated it as far
Knocking
as
their
I know.
heads off is
But
all I saw. Okay.
yeah, Easton Hodge, congratulations to him. But before we get into all that deal, we got to thank the people who help you get GBR Live every single Tuesday, 5 Eastern, 4 Central, for free all the time. TSR Racing Products, Power Glide Transmissions, Turbo 350s, Turbo 400s, 727s. Get your parts if you're not getting the whole thing from them. BRG 3D printed parts. Saw Brian Garrett's car over there on iTeray's website, actually. Looking good out there in the pit area, man. That thing looks even better in the winter circle. But get anything you need from Brian Garrett to print it up for you. 3D printing, high-density plastics and polymers. Syntex Printing out there in Temple, Texas for all your sticker needs, apparel needs, shirts, brochures, etc. Flags. Can get everything, man. Banners. We got some GBR banners. I want to say we sent some of them down to Galen Rawson, didn't we?
Yeah, and
Got
out
some of them
at
down there from Syntex Printing.
yep, and Havana Raceway. So yeah, we got them
Right
out
on,
there a few
right on.
places.
Yeah, Driven Racing Oil, best oil to use with methanol, hands down, man. Won't milk up. Looks brand new whenever it comes out. Use the code GBR10. Get yourself 10% off that oil. Proform parts. Get your carburetors, alternators, radiators, fans, distributors, tools. Man, and list goes on and on. Visit proformparts.com and see what all they got to offer. And, of course, Crew Chief Pro software. When you can't figure out your dial, Don Higgins already figured it out for you with that Crew Chief Pro software. Visit crewchiefpro.com and get your dial-ins in order. The weather's about to change. This time of year, man, you don't know if it's going to rain. You don't know if it's going to sweat you out. Don Higgins knows what your car is going to run. Visit crewchiefpro.com and get all that in order. George, that being said, man, it's been crazy rain out here, man. Eastern Conference Finals, they were racing boats out there, I believe.
I think you're right about that, and hopefully everything wound up okay. That was a lot of water sitting in the pits of that thing there. I think I was watching Jake Hodges, watching his Facebook page, and seeing that they actually moved Easton's car out of the water, and so obviously everything was okay with his machine. He ended up cracking him in the mouth pretty good there. I don't know how much that kid ended up winning, but I want to say it looked like there was a practice tree race. He might have won that too. But definitely pretty interesting to watch a proud dad be able to watch his boy go out there, and especially after I think I read after last year getting kind of disqualified for doing what everybody used to do, at least. Yes, it's a safety rule for leaning out of the cage, this, that, and the third, but to disqualify a kid for that, you could have just told him, hey, don't do it no more, you know. But the redemption has been received. Great work getting your redemption, young man, Mr. Easton. But yeah, dude, weather has been crazy, I can say, which some of the things we'll get into today. It's a little bit different of a stream, so make sure to like and share. It's definitely going to include the audience quite a bit. It's just a little bit of a rapid fire. No, you haven't been through one of those with GBR before. Before we get started, Casey, how about I shout out a couple races?
Yeah, man, absolutely.
Yeah, man. So let's start with the old TB boys. TB boys got it going on in Killcare, man. I'm gonna tell you what. I think there's about 40 entries left for that race, somewhere around that mark. And so you still got a little time to jump in this thing. It's August, it looks like the 17th through the 20th. Good things have been happening with TB all year, which you should expect to see within 2024 and beyond, until TB, they get done doing it. So love how they take care of the racers. They're always looking to give back to us racers, and even sending thanks here and there when they get a moment in time to do so. As well as Tyler always showing up in holding up a Wally, it seems like. I had to send him a message on a good job there. So make sure you check that out if you're in that area. It's a good race. It's ran by a really good promoter group as well. Not taking anything away from Del Pelage Memorial Thanksgiving 10K. It's definitely going to be a good race here as well. I'm going to try to make my way there as well. And if not in a drag racer's capacity, then GBR Media will be out there to give it to you guys live on Going Bracket Racing here as a streamed event. So definitely something to keep on your calendars, especially as we get towards the end of the season out there towards that Baton Rouge area. And definitely look forward to stepping on the show there. So That's what I got for the races we got coming up, Casey. As I'm pretty sure we are winding down towards the end of the year. There's a few more that we're going to be end up talking about here pretty soon.
Oh yeah, man. It seems to me like it's about foot brake season too, man, because there's tons and tons of foot brake coming up. I mean, we just got off the biggest WFC, and before we get into this whole rapid fire deal, I kind of was just thinking about this whenever you were saying it's towards the end of the year. We got the Labor Day 250K coming up, which is another one of Kohlberg's races. It's the richest foot brake race there is. It's kind of set up like the OG Million, where it's 100 grand guaranteed, progressive purse up to $250,000. Well, the thing is, man, that $250,000 comes out of 475 cars. They just had 700 something entries for the WFC. You think that's going to happen this year? I don't know if it's happened. I'm not sure if it's happened before, man, because to be honest with you, I haven't really paid a lot of attention to foot brake until about last year. So I've only really seen one of these Labor Day 250Ks one time. But I mean, man, $250,000 for a foot brake car, because I know a guy won the WFC, one of the races, maybe one of the warm-up races a couple years ago, that drove, I want to say, a Duster down there with a scooter in the back seat and slept in a tent next to the car and won a 10 grander. So, I mean, can you imagine somebody like that winning $250,000 foot braking?
Not to steal the slogan from OSFG, but life-changing money is happening on the racetrack, and this time it is for the foot breakers. As I look through my Facebook here, I see Ryan Gleghorn. Old Glegg is in here, and looks as if the most it's paid is $110K. And I could have said only, but I didn't do that because that's a lot of money for a foot breaker. $110,000 is quite a bit of money. And Casey, to answer your question, I think it will. I think that the people who showed up to race at the first race and got 700 entries into that race will most likely dust off what they can to be able to show up to the next race as well, including others. I tapped old Kevin Grider on the shoulder and say, hey, man, you need to get that old foot breaker down to the mountain, dude. He's been on a tear around here, so you might as well take your win streak up there to the mountain. Now, don't go without Crew Chief Pro. Don't do it. Okay,
that's right.
Just don't do it. It ain't worth it. It'll be worth spending the money on anyway. That way you have it from that point forward. But yeah, Casey, I think they'll get that 250 in, and it wouldn't shock me if it goes over it. To be honest, if he ends up paying a little bit more than 250.
Well, I mean, even on the last day after all the craziness had happened due to weather and things like that at the WFC. They still had over 500 cars entered in that race, and I know the 250K costs more to enter and everything, man. But well, first of all, Taylor Bowling's going to be there. That dude's laying down top bulb runs. He's kind of like, I mean, you haven't heard much about Nick Hastings this year. I think that Nick might have had a baby, so he's probably staying home a little bit more now. But Taylor Bowling kind of slid in there. He's kind of taken Nick's place this year so far, man. Actually, in the last couple of years.
Yeah, that's a good statement. I actually got a chance to meet him. I think we were at the team's race where I met him, and tough racer. Obviously, he showed you that. You don't have to take that from me. His resume is practically speaking for itself. So definitely going to be a heck of a show. Reading out in the YouTube chat here, it says, I think the decision made at the event specifically will keep it from getting those 425 needed in the main event. Insane to have buybacks in a 713 car gamblers race. I agree with you, but at the same time, I feel like if he gets 713 entries, the same exact decision will happen, and there's going to be a lot of happy foot breakers that are able to come out there and run for that type of money. So most all promoters make quote unquote that move to disallow buybacks when you got that many stinking entries, especially on the mountain where there's a curfew. And the weather's going to at least make it rain one time to where you got to stop racing, drive the track. So definitely, I feel like if you're going to that race, go into it knowing that if it blows out like it did, you might not get a shot at buying back. I guess that's more all reason to double it then, if you can do it. So be it.
That's true, man. It's I guess the fall must be foot brake season, man, because you got Michael Beard's new series, Staging Light. You got them with the Carolina foot swap over there at Rockingham. That's 310s for $350, October 13th and 15th, man. You got the loose rocker race, which is a staple. It's always been a staple out here for the foot breakers on Thanksgiving weekend. Piedmont Dragway, 24th and 25th, 220s on that flyer. I mean, there's a lot of major foot brake racing coming up lately.
Yeah, man, and that's for sure. And you even got SFG trying out. Did you mention the SFG race throwing out there?
I didn't, man.
Yeah, he's trying to
That's
fill that
Forza
race.
Rockingham.
Yeah, he's
Right.
trying to fill it. I think he's got like 75 entries so far, and he needs 125 to run it. If you're not paying attention to the entry fee to that race, and honestly, he's not taking a pre-entry for the footbreakers. It is a, are we going to be able to have this race type of a setup? I actually like it. We can save it for a topic for another stream if you'd like. But is that the way we need to be doing it? Have a sign up sheet before you actually let out your pre-entry to say, okay, we're gonna have this race or that race. That's honestly foolproof to me, but I'd love to see that foot brake race go down. I'd also like to see old Blue up in that sun gun. So hey man, dust your shoulders off, Casey, man. We got to get you in it in that bad boy.
Hey, I'm trying to this weekend, as long as it doesn't rain, man, because I'm telling you, man, last time I raced was when I ran my dad's fast car at Galat, the last race they had, man. And then actually I had dad run my car and foot brake the following day. But ever since then, man, it's just like rain out after rain out after rain out. It's ridiculous. So this week will be a full month if it finally doesn't rain this weekend. See, last Friday, we thought we were going to get to go racing last weekend, man, but it rained. Like I talked to you on the phone, George. I told you, I said, man, it's 6 in the mornings whenever I'm at work, and it started raining, and that's just whenever I started noticing. I mean, it was raining sideways type rain till 10 o'clock, and I was like, man. And we have a lot of tracks out here, and we got one that'll race Friday, one that'll race Saturday, one that'll race Sunday, and I'm looking and I'm like, man, well, maybe, it rains so much. Well, they're not going to race Friday because we're not going to be able to park because we'll get stuck. Well, it was still so wet. Saturday, it looked like you could have raced because there was just a little bit of rain about 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, something like that. Well, it quit, But the problem is, man, you just can't park anywhere because the trucks are all going to sink. And I've been a part of a race before where people all got stuck. This would have been back in the 90s, so I guess technically I wasn't a part of the race. I was there, but it was in Evansville, Indiana, Jake Hodge land out there. And I'm telling you, man, whenever you get stuck at Evansville, Indiana, I remember Ken Jones having to unhook his truck from the trailer, get the truck unstuck, and then try to figure out how we're going to get the trailer forward to get it back on the truck. And I mean, it is not fun. It is not worth going racing when the trucks all get stuck. And I'm not talking, it's one thing if one truck gets stuck, that happens. But when they all get stuck, man, that's a nightmare.
The truck that's trying to get the truck unstuck gets stuck.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. It's a lot of stuck.
Tractor gets stuck. If the tractor gets stuck, it's over.
I got old Alan Boynton thinking about going to that Bristol race. That's what I'm talking about, man. GBR be represented out there at that point. You know what I mean? I'm sure there's a lot of you guys out there might be heading from GBR. And we definitely appreciate you floating those stickers around as you guys been doing. Casey, got an interesting stream for the fans today. I should call it the community. I don't like calling it the fans. Let's call it the community. We got a nice stream for it today. A little bit of a rapid fire where we will, quote unquote, ask each other questions that we have prepared but not disclosed to one another, which might be interesting. And as well as take questions from the chat to just find something to mill over. You want to start? You want me to start?
I'll start, man. I'm not scared.
I ain't either.
So, well, that's good. That's good. Wait, you talking about asking questions or talking questions?
I think we're going to ask questions. Me and you ask the rapid fire. Let's go.
All right, I'll ask you first, man. I put about a whole 5 minutes into this question.
Same.
Thoughts. So, you know what I'm saying? So, anyway, man, I'm going to start off with the best question that I came up with so far. And that is, if you had the driving abilities of one racer today, who would it be? You can pick anybody out there racing today, not someone from the past. If you could steal their talents today and go win races, who are you picking?
Do I get to remain my age? Is the question. Not to throw shade at who I'm getting ready to take, by the way, but can I
Yes.
remain
You
George,
just
who hits the tree like I hit the tree?
you're ripping off the talents. That's all you're doing.
I'm just ripping the talents.
Yep.
Give me Troy Williams Jr. Hands down, give him to me. Why do I pick Troy? He's just got a lot of tricks in that old bag. Reminds me of a golfer. You know, in golf, if you play the sport, you can have a very crappy driver, but a really good 4-iron and be a really good golfer. Or be in the trees, but have a shot to get out of the trees because you've practiced it and you've performed it that many times. I've got to take Troy Williams. I feel like I would definitely strip his ability on the racetrack, but besides that, I'm taking his ability off the racetrack. Not to throw back good old Michelob Ultras and Bud Lights and all that good stuff, right? But the ability to be in a zone when he gets on the track, obviously something has to start in the pits as well. How do you remain in the zone? At these big races, I know he's double entered half the time, but how do you remain double O, take double O 4 hours later? Okay, 4 hours have passed before you have been down the track. Maybe three for his sake, since he's generally double. You know what I mean? And so I have to take Troy. Number one, that's who I grew up with. I've met him a few times. He's given me some insight already that I kind of have used to my advantage in my own racing operation. So give me Troy Williams, Casey. But I'm throwing that question right back at you. Just like I said before this whole thing, if you ask a question and I want your answer to, I'm going to throw it right back at you. I need your answer as well.
Man, it's I kind of thought you might do that, so I put a little thought in it. And this is something that I feel like as soon as I say it, everybody's going to be like, "Oh man, that makes a lot of sense." But you wouldn't think about it just because of the amount he races anymore. Peter Biondo, man. People think of Peter as a promoter, but ultimately Peter Biondo was a racer first, and beyond being one of the best promoters that there ever has been between him and Kyle Seipel as far as starting the first real mega money series out there, as far as I'm concerned. Um, Dude, Biondo just seems like he can win in anything. And he's by far one of the best people to let go of a button, period, as far as reaction times go. And he just seems like he just shows up and wins races. And it doesn't matter if he's in a class car, if he's foot braking, if he's top bulbing, if he's in a door car or a dragster, or a fast one or a slow one of either one. I mean, the guy just can show up and be extremely competitive. And it's crazy because he might enter. I told you this one time, George, and I don't know if I ever said this on the stream, but I was like, once a year, Peter Biondo will show up and win a major race. And I'm like, if people would actually think about it, Peter Biondo probably has the best win percentage in the last 5 years of anybody, because his win percentage, like, it's probably in like the 70% range or something insane, man. Because like last year, think about this, George. Last year, he was running the door car race at Galat in that Firebird, I think it is. And he runners up, I want to say, one race and wins the other one. He's in both finals. He might have only entered 6 races that year, you know?
Right.
I mean, so we're not talking round percentage. We're talking win the whole race percentage. It's
Right.
insane.
Right. Right. Definitely a great choice. I'm pretty sure there's a lot of people in here who would probably do the exact same. Welcome to the show, George Hoff. Here we go again. We're having a great conversation. I'm glad you're here. Welcome in, man. We might not throw any what ifs out there for you, though, this time. Casey, man, but my question to you, the very first question that I'd like to ask you is big block or a small block, and why?
Oh man, you know me. I was trying real hard to go with the small block deal for the blower deal. But the more and more that we thought about it, it was kind of like, man, I'm going to have to turn that thing so hard that at a certain point, you just kind of want to go with the big block stuff. Anymore, I'm all about fast door cars. I'm building a fast door car right now. I ran Dad's door car the other day. It kind of got to the point where I was like, man, I don't really even want to race anymore if I'm not running a fast door car anymore, which luckily I was already in the process of building one anyway. But I just think the big blocks are better overall because they got a little bit in my opinion, when you're trying to go fast, they got better longevity. Now, on the other side of things, whenever you got a car like my Blue Nova, that car works better with the small block in it. That car, whenever I had a big block in it, and I had that 468 and it had iron heads on it, and whenever it would have enough power to bring the front tires off the ground, and it wouldn't have the torque to keep it up. It was just 468. It was only 4-inch stroke. Now my 498 that I had in my Malibu, that thing would like to flip over backwards every time it went somewhere. So that being said, I think that car, if I was going to keep that setup in the Nova, I think if I would have put that 4 1/4 crank in it, I think it would have been better because it would have had the torque to set it down softer. But I just think a back half car overall works better with a small block in it. So I guess now that I'm kind of walking back on that whole deal and kind of saying, it kind of depends on what you're doing, man. Ultimately, if you have a full tube chassis car, you can go fast. I mean, your uncle goes fast with a small block. He's got some of the baddest small blocks out there outside of comp eliminator cars. So I would say it's just kind of a matter of what do you want to race? Not even what do you want to do? What do you want to race? Because
class-wise or car-wise, which one?
Car-wise, because if you have that tube chassis car, you can do whatever you want. You can go anywhere between 8 seconds and 4 seconds in a chassis car, in a tube chassis car, on pretty much any type of surface. You can make it work anymore with suspension technology nowadays, especially if it's 4-link type car. If you have a back half car, I think unless you're really going to try to go fast, I feel like you get in no man's land once you start getting below 620s. You're kind of at that point with a back half car. I think you're better off not trying to go 6.0s, but try to go 580s if you're going to go faster than that, because I think the weight bias in it, unless you have a real bad 434 or 427 small block, I mean, you'll go fast with that too, but it just gets the weight distribution off, in my opinion. So in a dragster, I think you're better off with the big block to begin with, just because you got all the extra weight over the tires. You don't have to lean on the motor so hard to go fast like you want to, because a small block, you got to get all that power down right now, because once you shift gears, you're running up to second gear, and at second gear, you're pretty much going with what you got with a small block. With a big block, you can still pull a little bit up there.
Right.
Obviously anybody who has been in the scenario where you're racing, say, a 470 dragster versus 470 dragster, if one's got a small block and one's got a big block, you'll figure that out real quick, just running time runs down the track or running races down the track. You'll figure that out. But yeah, to make a short story long, my opinion is I like both of them, I guess.
That's pretty cool. It's your question.
All right, man. This is so the next question for me is, what race have you not participated in yet, but before you hang the gloves up, you got to say, man, I got to at least be in this one. Not be at it, be in it.
Yeah, that's a tough one for me because there's just so many good ones. I participated in the 525, but I didn't go in the million. And there's just two on my list, honestly. I need to run one of SFG's millions, in my opinion. It's hard to say not the Great American Million. Give me either one of them, to be honest, whichever is closest to me. And I have to run at the OG. Everybody on this stream is going to say the OG, in my opinion. In the bracket racing community, it is the creme de la creme. The Mount Rushmore of bracket races, in my opinion. So I got to go with the OG number one, and then let me into the million to get a chance to get a million for my family. If I win that, that's kind of like a dreaming moment. I don't know how many other people have dreamt that they've won the million, but I have.
Everybody.
More than once. So give me the million for sure, man, and the OG million for sure. It's a quick one, so I'll throw that one back at you too.
I was talking to Dylan Champion earlier today about that, and everybody, it sounds like, oh man, Dylan Champion gets all Casey's questions. Well, he does get some of them, but I talk to Dylan almost every single day, man. I talk to him as much as I talk to you. So I was telling him, he said, well, what do you think on that? Because I was kind of running by some ideas. And I said, man, to be honest with you, I said, I got four of them, really. I thought I had three, and then it turned into four when I thought about it. And number one will be the Galat Fling, just because I think spring fling bracket races are great. You don't even have to do any good there, and you win giveaways and stuff. They have so many giveaways, it's crazy, and it's right down the street from my house, of course. Of course, the OG Million, just like you said, everybody knows why the OG Million. It's because if you are in the OG Million, you're in it with people who have, like, they're the best of the best. That's who goes to that race. They don't go to that race for the money. They go to that race to say, I am also the best of the best. I want to participate in the WFC. I've been interested in all this foot brake stuff for the last couple of years. Big Jed and Steve Stides, they put on a great race up there, as is shown by the car count. I'd love to be up there, not to mention it's at Bristol, and as long as you bring your boat, it's a great place to be, it seems. But the other thing, man, is the Dream Team Challenge, the Great American Dream Team Challenge, man. I would love to be at that. I mean, you had very high, you gave them a lot of props for what you experienced there. To be a part of the Dream Team Challenge would be awesome. One of these days, I'm going to make it down there to do that. I got an idea, man. We'll have to have Team North Carolina and Team Texas for GBR. We'll all go down there to GABR and have a good time down there at the Dream Team.
Sure, you want to do that?
Hey, man, we might as well. We got twice as many chances to win. you know.
True, true. Hey, man, I think the question's on me, isn't it? Let me go into now. I can't use number 7 because honestly, you've already kind of answered it. But I'll go ahead and tell you what it was. Is foot brake the way? And in a sense, you haven't answered it, but you've at least showed your interest in being able to be a foot braker yourself. So I'll let you have it from there if you have anything you want to add into foot brake. And is it the way for the bracket racing community, especially for GBR?
I mean, the thing about foot brake, well, Fixing Used Race Cars must have just heard that, because he says foot brake is the cheat. That's why I like it. And that's true, man. You can run anything in foot brake. You can rent something and run it in foot brake, man. So
before you answer, Casey, let me answer this question from Back at It Racing. Anyone see that compressed air machine at NHRA last weekend? Yeah, man, I've seen it. I've seen it up close and personal. Mark races out here in the Texas area quite a bit. Actually got a chance to pit right next to him at a it was a CP Promotions Racers Appreciation event out at I-30, where the Compressed Air Solutions team was actually the title sponsor. Very neat car, especially up close and personal. Get a chance to look at it if you can. My bad, Casey. Go ahead.
No, it's all good. I was just kind of rambling on about the fact that ultimately the whole purpose bracket racing exists is to have cheap racing. And the cool part about the foot brake deal, more than anything, is not necessarily payouts, not necessarily cheaper entry fees. It's the fact that, first of all, it's all door cars. That's cool. Second of all, it's, as I said on a few episodes back, man, I just feel like the foot brake guys, I just feel like are having more fun. And I don't know if that's because typically the average foot brake car doesn't have as much money tied up in it. Typically you don't have for sure you don't have as much money in entry fees. There's also not as much on the line, man. So like, as far as, for example, I was looking at my weekly racing, and for what it costs to single enter and buy back once in top, you can double enter and buy back both entries in foot brake for cheaper. So that's what I mean when I say there's not as much on the line. You just don't have as much wrapped up in it. So yes, I guess the overall answer would be yes, it might be the wave of the future. I intend on, if I can ever figure out how to foot brake. I mean, Dad foot brake my car good. For some reason, I can't get away from red light, and I got a couple more ideas. So I'm going to try that out this weekend. And my ultimate goal is to run Top Sportsman with my fast car next year with IHRA.
Nope, don't go into that. Sportsman. Nope, don't go into that. Stop.
We're not going
Can't do
into
that.
that
Yeah, I
yet.
got a question surrounding that. Don't go into that one yet. Don't go into that one. Hey, right here, guys, is a great time. Casey, I think you are next. I'm going to erase my question 7 during the commercial break here. But let's go ahead and get some words from the guys over at Proform and BRG and TSR. Show them some love. Be right back. Make sure to share the stream. I see a question from Nova Fan, too. We might come back from commercial break on that question. Don't go anywhere.
TSR Racing Products has everything you need to make your Power Glide Turbo 350, Turbo 400, and 727 transmissions the best they can be on the street or at the track. With exceptional products, customer service, and over 30 years of experience, TSR Racing Products is always available to help their customers with any of their transmission needs. In-house machining ensures you only receive the best products from TSR Racing. Visit TSR Racing Products at tsr-racing.com or give them a call at 800-394-5889.
BRG Motorsports 3D printed racing parts are able to provide you with whatever you desire to enhance your drag racing operation. Items like safety belt magnets, nitrous bottle holders, and even quick release delay box mounts are able to be obtained from BRG Motorsports 3D printed racing parts. Have a look at top selling items such as helmet hooks and steering wheel hooks, which are proven to make it easier to maneuver throughout your race car. You can contact BRG Motorsports 3D printed racing parts at telephone number 765-729-1177.
We've completely redesigned our best-selling thermostat fan to make it even better. Proform's high-performance universal 15-inch electric fan is the perfect upgrade to replace the stock fan in your vehicle. It's equipped with a thermostat that's adjustable from 160 to 240 degrees. Mounted to your radiator supports with sturdy brackets and driven by a heavy-duty motor, this unit pulls up to 2,800 CFM of air with a 14-amp current draw. All mounting hardware and wiring are included.
All right, welcome back. Welcome back, Going Bracket Racing. Thanks everybody for coming in as always and spending an hour with us on a Tuesday, on another Tuesday, I should say. Not possible without our sponsors over there, our marketing partners, should I say, BRG Motorsports 3D printed parts, Proform parts, Crew Chief Pro, TSR Racing Products, Ken Jones Performance, Driven Racing Oil, Team 14 Motorsports, Syntex Printing, and as always, those good fellows over at Your Ad Here. Man, you got to give them all a call if you need anything. That goes for anything racing-wise or even marketing partner-wise. Casey, man, I saw a question on here, man. I mean to tell you, I think he already knows the answer to the question. He should have just answered it. But Nova Fan here says, I got a question. Casey or George, who wins?
Well, I've never actually got to run George. I've ran his dad plenty. I've ran his uncle plenty, but I've never ran him. So no one truly knows yet. But hey,
Nobody
man,
knows
like
yet.
I said,
Yep.
with Team Texas and Team North Carolina for the Dream Team, one of these days, man, we'll find out whose entire team's better, maybe.
You took the words right out of my mouth. I'm calling you out first pair. Hey, if we come together as in GBR team, racist GBR team, I'm calling you out, brother. And you can't say no. We gonna make some side bets on that too. So
It'd
definitely
be a good time,
looking forward to that, man. We got to make that happen. But I see some comments in the chat here. It seems like a lot of people love that old foot brake, man. I feel like I need to find a way to get Mo. I want a foot brake. I don't want to put any torque on the converter when I do it. I know I'm gonna have to turn those air bleeds quite a bit and see what happens, but man, I really want to go foot braking. I feel like I've done it before in the Cavalier. You've done it in a junior dragster. I want to see if I can still let go off the bottom, just with the foot though. I don't necessarily want to use the trans brake button to do so. So definitely shout out for all the comments out of Jim Backwards and Tex Griffiths. Definitely, man.
Yeah, no, I just think that I don't know, the more expensive things get, the better foot brake looks. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I don't know how much further I can go into that comment, George, because you cut me off and told me that I wasn't allowed to talk about it anymore. So you might as well just jump to that next, so that way we can get it out of the way.
Yeah, it's actually my question number 4, to be honest, Casey, and it's the top sportsman Verge 470 index class that have been seemingly emerging as well. I'm not going to call it the wave of the future because I feel like it's dedicated to only its specific niche market. So I don't want to say wave of the future with that particular those two particular classes. But you're working your way into it. The purses are great, as we know, especially with the Verge stuff. What are your thoughts as you get ready to participate in the Verge and the top sportsman classes, having the GBR car completed?
I think that I've talked to Rex Simmermaker from the Fast Brackets podcast about this quite a few times. And the reason I think that Verge is so successful is, first of all, they have a 450 index dragsters, they have 470 index door cars. It can get the fan involvement up there because, as far as they know, it's bracket racing, but it's heads up racing at the same time. And there are no throttle stops. That's the one thing you always hear anytime if you watch that NHRA TV, anytime the super classes are up, they're like, I don't understand why they're slowing down after they leave. And you don't see that in Verge because all these 470 index things, the number one rule is really there's only one rule, and it's we all got to go 470 and you're not allowed to use throttle stops. So a 470 door car is fast, man. I went 477 the other day in Dad's car. We weren't even we were just testing it, just trying to. We haven't even got to double digit runs on that car. So we haven't turned down as far as it could go. I went 477 at 148 mile an hour. So, I mean, if you're at a smaller track, like a normal 8th mile facility would be, dude, 150 mile an hour in a door car, that's blazing down through there as far as a skinny track. It doesn't look that fast on like a national event facility, but when you're talking your normal, like your I-57 drag strips or your Kinstons or your coastal plains or something like that, where it's a little skinnier, NHRA, I want to say the track side to side has to be like 60 feet. And a lot of those tracks are like 30 feet or 35, 40, something like that. And it's just everything being skinnier. It looks like it blazes down through there. So that's number one, the reason why I think that those series are so successful. Number two, I think that it's super easy to go 450 in a dragster. So that's the reason that 450 index is so successful, because every dragster goes 450 anymore, or can go 450 with just a little sniff of nitrous, because they can all pretty much go at least 470. And you can, all those door cars are low slung. So you put a dragster lift in your trailer, and your normal trailer, like my trailer sitting outside, has a dragster lift in it. You drive it right under there and you keep on rolling, and now you can enter both classes. Or you can bring, I've talked to Brandon Lane. He's getting his car redone right now, and he's talking about putting a fast motor in his with a little blower on it, things like that. And I said, man, we can take your motor home, put your dragster in the door car in my trailer, and we'll go run Verge something next year.
Right.
Right. It's just a little easier.
Gonna be very interesting. I really feel like, especially with IHRA 2024, hooray, go, they're around the corner, you know what I mean? And they're gonna open up a little bit more, especially in your area, I feel, when the consensus comes out that says, the Carolinas have quite a few top sportsmen and Verge cars. I expect to see quite a few of those Verge cars convert into the top sportsman class if they can make the field, which I think they can. So, going to be an interesting 2024 for you, especially for IHRA.
Yeah, man. The I-10,
like I almost fell.
Like, we're doing it live, man. That's what happens. But hey, what I was trying to say earlier, though, is I intend on, if I can hit the tree, if I can teach myself, which I know I can. I know obviously it's just a matter of, I let go for the last 20 years off the top. Well, I haven't hit the tree at all in the last month. So I feel like this is the best time to try to start foot braking. I'll teach myself how to foot brake, and then I'll go top sportsman racing. When I'm not top sportsman racing, then I'll run foot brake at local stuff. So I can kind of spend money over here and save money over here type thing. And course, anytime Galat's open, I'll probably run my fast car at Galat because it's one of the nicest facilities in the country. It can hold anything you're going to throw at it.
Yeah.
So of course I would run that there, but that's my intention with everything in the upcoming year, which the new car's not even done yet, man. The chassis ain't even powder coated yet. So
Right.
we'll see, how all that goes, but
Right.
it'll be done at some point, and that's my plan.
Right, man. Right. No, great question. A lot of talk going on about Coastal Plains here from Chad Weiscover. He says, and Coastal still has a lot of shutdown. Try Wilkesboro,
Yes.
Farmington, or Motor Mile. That's sketchy shutdown at 150 mile an hour. So obviously you're getting a little bit of food for thought there as far as from tracks that you can go 150 mile an hour down, Casey.
I would love to see, speaking of that, obviously we announced on this show whenever we had Larry and Jeffers and Mel on here with IHRA that Darlington's coming back to IHRA. I'd love to see Coastal come back to IHRA. If they did that, then that would be another place that you could run Top Sportsman at because of the exact reasons that they just said there. They have plenty of shutdown. I want to say they still run quarter mile on test and tune night. So they got obviously plenty of shutdown. In fact, they test pro stock cars there, man. I want to say whoever, maybe it's who owns it now or who used to own it or whatever. I want to say they were a big part of Greg Anderson getting started running pro stock. So, they test pro stocks there every once in a while too. So, I mean, there's obviously, if you can test a pro stock there, then you got plenty of room. I mean, they didn't run full quarter mile, but still they're going to run, they're still going to run 160 mile an hour to the eighth, at least I would think. So George, next question for you. I got, money is no object. What type of race car are you going to build? And I'm saying like the type of the car, what kind of ET you going to run, and ultimately why you picking that.
And of course, I am restricted to bracket racing, correct? Because that's where I want to be. That's what we talk about the most.
I mean, you can do whatever you want, man. I just said money's no object. You can build whatever you want. I mean, what more do you want?
Well, one thing you didn't say is how many I could build, so I'm building one of each. If I have to stay, though, I'm going to be a bracket racer until I can't do it any longer. I think it's because I've been bitten by this style of car. And I'm not talking about Mo. I love Mo to death. The S10's probably my number 2, honestly. Man, I love the Vets or the Corvette Roadsters or the Camaro Roadsters. If I have a Roadster and it runs 520s, 530 range, in my opinion, I could go down into 4s. That wouldn't be bad for me either. I feel like you can see very, very well coming up on a car, and there's nothing there. You're just looking dead out of the cage like you would be in a dragster. So your door car, quote unquote, meets dragster vision is what I like about, should I say, at least out of the right lane. Because on the left lane, you do have to look over the back of the car. But I do like the thought of having maybe a super gas style bracket car that is a roadster of some sort. 63 Corvette, 69 Camaro Roadster would be pretty nice. Whatever the case, I'm in that level of things. As far as for the sport that the events and participating in what I like to do the most. So let me stay with that. Yep.
That was something else I was going to ask you on that, because I kind of knew that you were going to pick a roadster because you love those roadsters, man. You know what when I was writing that question, I kind of was thinking you don't really see roadsters as much anymore around, at least where I'm at. I haven't seen them much this year, and I wondered why that was. You think they're all running super classes now, or
I don't.
Are they all somewhere else?
I don't think they're all running super classes. I know that that's what that particular car and body style was intended to do in the first place, considering how many roadsters run super gas.
Pretty much
what
entire.
I mean? So I think that it's just a hit or miss type of deal here. In my opinion, I see a roadster or two just about every single time I go out to Extreme Raceway Park. A couple of fast ones at that. So they're there, but it's hit or miss. Maybe your area, which I think this may be where you're getting your senses from, Casey, is a lot of Galat in your areas full of the more traditional back half tube chassis, even four-link, doesn't matter, but older school, nice looking race cars. Kind of that's the bread and butter around where you are, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. I wonder if those I feel like the roadsters kind of go in waves, like as far as like moving over here and moving over there, because a guy will get one and he'll start winning a lot, and then his buddies all want one, and then for some reason someone gets something else, and then they decide to get on that train. And I just was kind of wondering what your opinion was on that, because I know you follow the roadsters a whole lot. You like the roadsters a whole lot, and I just thought that that was interesting because I saw them a whole bunch out here whenever I first moved here, and then they kind of went away. And I just wondered where they went, because obviously they're still around, you know.
Right, right. Yeah, man. So definitely would be my first choice there. I think part of that also is that I've never driven a dragster, and I enjoyed the view out of that right lane quite a bit in that vet. Like, I could see almost everything out of that right lane. Left lane wasn't as easy as the right lane, which, I mean, it's kind of vice versa in what I drive for myself. I get the whole back window so I can see everything, period, you know. So, yeah, no, you knew my answer. It's definitely spot on. My next question. This is kind of stemming from this time of year. I did see something on the internet today that posed this question as well, out of Chad Sandlin. Here, he's a local racer. I'm pretty sure you guys, he's not just a local racer. You guys understand who Chad Sandlin is, and if you don't, if he pulls up next to you in that old Self Motorsports truck, you had better get a knowing of who Chad Sandlin is pretty doggone quick before you go down that racetrack. Anyway, it is hot, man. I mean hot. And it's hot enough to where Extreme Raceway has already canceled their Super Pro Green and Pro Blue categories. What can help us avoid the heat, in your opinion? And if you would, please throw this question back at me. But on a everyday event, we all don't have motorhomes. We all don't have enclosed trailers and the ability to stay cool. Give me your thought process on what we can do as the track operator or the track local racetrack. What can we do to eliminate some of the time we're in the heat? Thoughts?
Well, a lot of people, and see, this is the reason why, you know, because it goes both ways. The reason why we couldn't race last weekend was because it was so hot. So they moved the start time back. In some areas you can't. Like, in fact, Galat has a curfew, so they can't move their start time back. Kinston, however, in the summertime, Kinston and Coastal both, they'll move the start time back to like 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, something like that, instead of being, you know, 10 or 12. So that way, and in fact, Galat, they open the gates, I want to say at 8, and we'll start time runs at like 9 or something. Well, in the middle of summer, man, that means you're racing through the hottest part of the day, and that just is what it is. You know, but if you can move the start time back, obviously it's always cooler at night. Everybody knows that. Just not having, even if it's the same temperature, just not having the sun beating down on you is something. I would say there's a lot of my buddies that I don't know why, but they have back half door cars or cars that still have glass in the windows and the windows don't roll down. I was like, that doesn't make any sense to me. So that'd be the first thing that I would do, because there's a lot of times people will be like, they'll come up, they'll be standing around the lanes. Man, why are you sitting in there? I was like, it's better in here because there's shade in here, you know? I can tell you another thing is I have a fan in my car, like an actual fan to point on me, and having the air moving means a lot. Get you those, I always call them chamois or whatever, but you just get those chamois, you know, put them in ice water, put them around your neck and everything. And that helps out a whole lot. Those squirrel cage fans, sometimes you can get them out of an old HVAC unit. You can get them at like Costco for $40-50. Those things, man, they'll move so much air that when it's that hot outside, they'll move so much air that you feel like there's AC on you. Because when it's 100 degrees, those things can move air probably. I should have put I got, you know, that Kestrel handheld thing that I use to kind of get an idea what the weather is. I should put that in there because it's got a wind speed deal on there. And I bet you that thing pushes air out at
30 miles.
I mean, just probably. I mean, judging by what it used to be like riding motorcycles, it might be 50, to be honest with you. I mean, it's in a real small consolidated area. But yeah, I mean, that's what I do, man. It's, you know, my dad has an RV, but we never really were in it. And that's half the issue is like, whenever you work on your own stuff, you're always outside. My grandpa owned a 24-hour wrecker service, and until he got cancer, never he never even had AC in his house. And then finally, when he got sick, my mom and my aunt got him a little window unit because that's all he would allow to have in his house. But he said it was too hard on your body going in and out of the heat. And I mean, this is coming from a guy that was in the Army and all that stuff. So I mean, and he was in the Army back in the day when they were going to the jungle and stuff. So I mean, somebody knows how to deal with heat. But yeah, I mean, that guy, he until he was 69 years old, I think, never had AC, period. He just would be outside. So I think there's a lot to be said for those guys who work in the heat all day long. I think that's why you see those guys do so good in the summertime. If you really look at it, like guys who work on power lines or work on roads, or concrete guys or something like that, that are all roofers, especially guys who are always hot, they don't know the difference. They know it sucks, but it just is another day for them. So I think you just got to get used to it.
I think that you answered that question well. You don't even got to throw it back at me. Part of me was thinking that as a topic, are we moving it the wrong direction? Because I understand that we're trying to beat the heat. But man, beating the heat means getting home at 4 o'clock in the morning. And I'm taking Chad Sandlin's comments because this is how I feel about that. Getting home at 4 o'clock in the morning on a Sunday morning destroys your Sunday. And if you punch the clock like I do, you got to go to work on Monday, which is likely also destroyed. And so definitely something that I wanted to bring up and see your thoughts on. My thoughts were almost to say let's start early in the morning as possible, take the break through the afternoon and come back and finish it at night. Shouldn't be that much left over in the first place. But then again, you have the curfews that say you can't run at a certain time. And also, where are you going to go during the break to get out of the sun if you don't have an air conditioner or a motorhome? So just something to think about is all I wanted to bring that question up for. Your question, man.
Well, I was just going to add to that. One thing that I started doing, and guys like, I mean, you and I work from home, so we can do this. And especially, and you can't really do this either, I'd say, because your whole house, you work in the main house. See, my office is separate from my main house. So I have its own thermostat, its own AC unit. And I partially started doing this because the AC up here is rigged up and it's not big enough for the area. So in the summertime, this time of year, about noon, it starts getting warm up here. And then at the end of the day, like I bet you if I went and looked at that thermostat right now, I bet you it's probably 85 degrees up here. But so what I started doing was I was like, man, this is kind of, you're not moving around. I do office work type stuff. I do AutoCAD, 3D modeling, stuff like that. So it's not like I'm up and moving around very much. But what I started doing was I set the low to 77 and it gets hotter through the day and it ends at 85 at the end of the day. So that way, when I'm at the racetrack and it's 95 degrees, it's not that much hotter for me. And it gets you used to it. So you're kind of climatizing yourself. So maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. It's definitely not as hard as I used to work at a basement company. So I understand what it's like to work hard and be hot. I get that. It's definitely nothing like that, but even if it's psychological, it helps. And Bryce Pittman's over here as Casey running foot brake at Kinston this weekend. I'm going to, man, if they don't rain. So if you want to look for a duck, you and Leonard Cherry can come over and find me, and you probably got one over here, man.
Don't let them fool you, fellas. Don't let them fool you. That's all I got to tell you.
Bryce whooped my old man at Galat last time we were racing, so that wasn't very nice of him. He wasn't respecting his elders, but he took home the big check, I believe, that weekend. Actually, it might have been, I don't know if it was that day or the day prior, but he's doing pretty good over there, man. I saw him at the WFC. I was hoping he was going to get it done up there, man. He went pretty deep, so that was pretty cool, man. I like Bryce. He's a good kid.
We got about time for, I think, one more question apiece, and I have to ask at least one more. So prepare the best one you got, because it's on you.
All right. Let's see. I got two over here that I could ask. This would probably be a good one, man. What's the nicest race car you've ever seen?
Huh.
And that's a thinker. I know it is, but I got one written down that I know well, but I want to see this is going to be one of those things where I'm going to let you say what one you think, and then I'm going to tell you this. You're going to be like, oh, Duh, because I know you're thinking of it. I know you'll think
Yeah,
of it as soon as I say it.
yeah. It's the now. I haven't seen it in person though. I think is where you're gonna go. It's gonna be that old blue and white car, but Schaefer's got. That car's pretty sick. But I
Yes.
haven't seen it in person. Also, Jalen Whitmore's got a real nice looking car out here, and I just can't call what model it is. I think he comes out of Arkansas and he runs quite a bit with Snake Racing and the old Jones crew, old bad boy Bobby Jones out there. And man, he's got a really nice car, and I really can't call it what it is. So that's one, and then I gotta go with Schaefer's Camaro as well. What you got, Casey?
Uh, so the one that that's gonna be your one, like, oh yeah, that one, Angelo Belosi's Nova, man.
No question.
Turn signals even work in it. I mean,
No
come on.
question. That car is pretty
The
dog.
one that won TB's 50K last
right.
year too.
That's right.
So
That's
it's a good car too,
That's
and
right.
it's
Angelo
fast.
always in a nice street ride. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So
Yeah, man.
no,
Fixing use.
oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, fixing used race cars over here said, actually, have you seen his Camaro?
Who's
His
fixing used
Camaro,
race
I guess, Angelo's Camaro.
Angelo? Oh no, I haven't. I don't
Yeah.
think so, to be honest.
That I guess he built a new Camaro, like a new body style Camaro that's supposed to be just as nice as his Nova.
But is it nicer than Brina Spring Lowry's? Have you seen hers?
Well, so Brenna's Spling Air's car, the one that used to be the Chi-Town Hustler, it's out here now.
Not that one. The actual Camaro.
I
I think she's got a Copo. You gotta check it out.
Well, this one, the Cobalt is the one I'm talking about. It's out here now.
There.
The old, I think
Yep.
it was a super stock modified car or
Yep.
something, but
Yep.
it's nice, man. It just says it was the Chi-Town Shaker is what it said on it, but he took Chi-Town off. It just says Shaker on it, man. But
Yep.
that car is nice.
Right. My final question, and this is man, this might be something that everybody might need to write down at some point in time if you're not there already. But Casey, to you, and also for myself, I'm actually 12 years married now, and knowing that we are a little bit younger within our family days, she did not come from a drag racing background. You can turn this around as well and say, on the other hand, where the wife is actually in drag racing or bracket racing as the event, how do we stoke the fire with our significant others towards the sport of bracket racing as a whole? I feel like this is something that a lot of people might actually go through, but maybe you can answer by giving a few tidbits on what you do to keep Laura going, or what I do to keep Alicia going.
And so that's interesting because my wife grew up in the city, man. She didn't do anything like this. Like they didn't have her dad when he was younger, like he had cool cars and stuff like that. He had GTO and things like that. But they never raced growing up. They didn't have motorcycles growing up, things like that. See, I mean, you know how I grew up, George, but for everybody that doesn't, I grew up on a farm riding dirt bikes and 3-wheelers and 4-wheelers and junior dragsters. And dad had race cars and built race cars and worked on trailers and built trailers and builds cars. So I had no choice. So when I met my wife, I mean, she knew that's what I was all about. I had multiple Harleys whenever I met her. You know, that's all we ever talked about all the time was racing, or racing was on TV, or I'd be talking to you on the phone when I lived in Denver and we'd be watching the OG Million and, you know, stuff like that. So I guess what I should say is she wasn't like in the sport like me. And you know how that is, man. It's, you see that a lot where like the husband will go and the wife's not there. My wife's only not there because my boys won and it's 105 degrees outside and he can't be out there all day long. Otherwise she'd be out there. Well, what I started doing was when we first started racing, I started teaching her how it worked and helping her understand, like, this is how dial-ins work. This is why it's cool. Because my wife's a teacher. So once I started teaching her how things worked and how you predict this by this and how this causes this, and there's all these variables, and then there is a strategy involved also, she started getting interested because she's like, well, I like math and I like strategy, And then I started being like, well, here, you're, the number one job, just like I'll do with my boy, just like you had to do when you were little. What's the first job that you learn at the racetrack? Check the air and the
Check them
tires,
tires.
right?
Yep.
And then the second job is now you're allowed to start. Now you're smart enough, you can start helping dad with the dial in and talking stuff through and things. And my thing is, whatever's going on in my head's usually coming out of my mouth half the time anyway. So
Right.
I'm talking. So I would just by happenstance be talking through my strategy with her, and then that helped her learn. And once she learned and understood what was going on, it's the same thing, when we were talking about Verge earlier. Why do people like Verge? Because it looks like heads up racing. They know who gets their first wins 99% of the time.
Right.
Well, when that doesn't happen and you don't know what's going on, you just get confused and you get pissed off. So once you teach them what's going on, then they can start understanding it on the level we do, and they get interested. And ideally, now on one hand, you'll have to have at least 2 entry fees, if not 2 cars, if this happens. But on the other hand, it's kind of a blessing if you can get your wife so involved that she wants to drive too.
Right. Right. I actually like the answer, man. It's actually spot on, to be honest. Just here and there. It's not something that I had to struggle with very much. My wife spent a little time around dirt tracks. She worked in Walmart as oil change and tire specialist. So she actually brought to the racetrack something that was already a skill of hers. Checking tires was second nature. And so I think I began to turn her on to the weather. I know she has a knack and a liking for seeing what is the weather about to do, which is another reason why I went with Crew Chief Pro software, so that I can have, number one, my logbook there, give her my ticket whenever the time comes, let her enter all of my timing data, and then play around to figure out what she thinks the car is going to do next. Just one weight off of my back a little bit. I help to kind of make the decision, but just a way to get him included. I like Danny Amos Sr.'s thought. He says, buy them an RV. I think if all wives had an RV, you won't have a problem to get them at the racetrack. In my opinion, there's always something to do, even if it's just to watch TV and chill. So, yeah, man, this is a pretty good episode, Casey. We might have to do this once every 6 months or something. Just kind of have a rapid-fire question on thoughts and comments that we might have or the community may have as far as for, what's going on in bracket racing. What you got in closing, man?
Man, just, we had a couple more we could go through. We knew that's how it'd be, man, because ultimately we get off on tangents. That's kind of what GBR is all about. It's just like, kind of our whole goal with this is just feel like you're sitting in the trailer. Unfortunately, during a rain out, like it's been the last month for me anyway, but hopefully it lightens the load on people in the middle of the week, get you ready to go racing on the weekend, get you ready to go change that driven oil out of that car, put some new in, get ready to use the code GBR10, get yourself 10% off. And I guess while we're at it, we might as well thank Team 14 Syntex Printing, BRG 3D printed parts, Proform parts, Crew Chief Pro software, TSR Racing Products, Ken Jones Performance, and George's buddy, your ad here. Get a hold of us at goingbracketracing@gmail.com. Let us know if you want to be a part of the Going Bracket Racing. If you want to be a guest or got an idea who you want to have for a guest, or you have somebody already set up, definitely send us an email or send us a Facebook message over there on the Facebook page. And don't forget to click that like and follow button. And if you can't watch it live, get it on the podcast wherever you like to see it.
Or if not, we'll see you guys next Tuesday. Have a good day. See you.